It's time for the Take a Seat podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Howell. Please take a seat. Good morning, everybody. It is Take a Seat TV time. Thank you for joining us. Those of you who are joining us on Facebook and Facebook Live, thank you for being here. Today is an exciting day again. We're interviewing some awesome entrepreneurs, a couple called Ettiene and Marlouise, and they are in the coffee industry. And just before we invite them in, I want to just remind you what Take a Seat TV is about. We're all about design and working within your design. So finding your talents and abilities and working within your design. We believe that entrepreneurs are born. It can't be taught. You can't be taught to be an entrepreneur. You're either born an entrepreneur, you're not. And if you're not an entrepreneur, don't worry, you can be a great employee. We're all looking for great employees, and it's a partnership between employees and entrepreneurship. That's really what we're about. And we teach both streams of knowledge. We teach people to be fantastic entrepreneurs within their design, and then also teach employees how to be fantastic employees and be successful in what you do. Yes, you too can become wealthy as an employee. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to become wealthy. So that's the design and the idea behind takeaseat.tv. But without further ado, I'm going to invite Ettiene and Marlouise in, a couple from Potchefstroom, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right? It's Potchefstroom?
Yes.
All right, welcome, the two of you.
Thank you, Ben.
Right, so Ettiene, Marlouise, I just want to start off. For those of you who don't know you, I don't know you at all. I heard about you guys, and I heard it's a significant coffee shop there in Potchefstroom, and I can see from your website that there's bigger dreams than staying in that city only. So let's talk about who you guys are. Where do you come from? You know, what's your background before you got into coffee? You know, since leaving school, what's the journey been for both of you? Let's start with Marlouise.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Marlouise, and I'm from Mpumalanga, and I moved to Potchefstroom as a university student. And as I finished my studies, I started working in HR as I was studying industrial psychology. And wow. I met Ettiene. Yeah, I met Ettiene on, so I'll say Potch soil, and we got married, and then we both stayed. He also came from out of town, and then he stayed in Potch to start as an article clerk. He's an accountant. And long story short, as we got married, everything else changes for us, even our careers.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, I like that. Yeah. I like the industrial psychology. It's a passion of mine, and I think it resonates with you when I speak about employees and finding great employees. So we'll talk about that soon. Right. Yes. Right, Ettiene, tell me about yourself, the leader of this home.
Yes. So my name is Ettiene. I was born and bred in the Free State, coming from a farming community. Also came to Potch to study here as an accountant and did my articles, finished that. While I was here, met Marlouise, and I think we're going to discuss what happened after that.
Yes.
Right. All right. So tell me, what started the idea around coffee? Now, and just something as a side note, I love coffee. I drink too much of it. And I have this pet passion to find out where all the local coffee shops are and coffee bars are and all these little stands, you know, that popped up everywhere. I go and visit each one of them to try out their coffee. And I've got the secret desire to own my own coffee stand next to the road somewhere, not because I want to make money from it, just because I love the idea of having a coffee stand. Anyway, maybe you guys can help me in that direction, but tell me about the journey to coffee.
Amazing. For us, we met over a cup of coffee. So our first date, we had, I think, 2 or 3 cups of coffees, and we say we are still drinking coffee. But to tell you the story, we need to go back to where it all started. Marlouise and myself met in 2013, got married in 2014, and on our honeymoon, we discussed like future dreams, stuff that was on our hearts, stuff that we one day when we retire, you know, these are the things that we want to do. And the dream of Toru actually was born on our honeymoon. It didn't have like a name yet, he didn't have a concept yet, but the dream was born on the honeymoon. So we actually, both of us, we are from farming communities. We see what happens, like, on the ground, and both of us have a heart for people. So we actually want to take the products from the farms, get it to the end user, and through that reach people, and that is what we feel our mission field is. So when we started out, we had meat, we had bread. Coffee was the thing that we felt like was the perfect thing to mold everything together. And it was never supposed to be the main thing. I think the main thing for us was from the get-go was people and relationships. Coffee was just a tool that we realized would make that happen. And as fate would have it, like coffee booms, in the last few years, it's been really booming in South Africa. And people are getting to like coffee more, and we are fortunate to be in that industry and use this tool to reach people.
Wow. All right. So tell me, where does the name come from, Ettiene Toro? What does that? Does it mean something? I think I see a cattle involved. So is that it's got something to do with bulls?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So definitely, when we realized what was going to happen, we had to get a name. But the activation of us actually starting the business came from a prophetic word that we received about a month after we got back from honeymoon. And that is where we started praying about, this future dream that we thought, well, one day when we retire. So for us, part of the prophetic word was the guy saw what we wanted to do. He said he saw Spain, he saw Matador, the bull, and for us, or for me, it meant we're going to stay in Poch. That was my connection, and it's because the soccer in the FIFA World Cup, the Spanish team stayed in Poch, so we also wanted to move to Cape Town, and for me, that was just to say, okay, we're going to be in Poch, and then when we knew, okay, we're going to start this business, we prayed into the name, and obviously Toro came up. It's Spanish, it means bull. Farming community, it makes sense. But then one day we saw the same spelling, Toro, in Tswana, which is the local language here in Poch, means dream. And when we saw that, we were like, okay, this is the name. For us, it's meaning. So Toro is obviously like the bull side of it. Most people see that side. But for us, like the main meaning behind the name is actually the dream side.
Very, very interesting. So tell me, ideas are cheap, like there are thousands of millions of ideas out there. What really matters is execution. Now, tell me about the entrepreneurial spirit. Where does it come from? Is it something you were brought up with? Does it come from the parents? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I will go first. I was definitely born an entrepreneur. My first memory was I was 4 years old selling our citrus products to my own family that farms it. I definitely grew up just thinking different, and I think my motive behind it was I also have a lot of compassion for people, so I wanted to see how I can teach people to make money to look after themselves better, to have a better well-being. So I think that was my motive, as I can remember from a very young age. I went through high school selling biltong. I went through, like, every entrepreneur day was like my highlight of the year. So it's definitely something, that was placed inside of me that I saw from my family, but also it was something I cannot deny. I'm one of 4 kids, and not all 4 of us are entrepreneurs. So I really believe that there's a difference being born as an entrepreneur and not being born as an entrepreneur.
Right.
I think likewise. I think some entrepreneurship is like one of those things that you kind of like inherit as well from the people that was there before us. And we can definitely, if we go back and look at like our parents and their parents and our forefathers, we can literally like see how they were also like entrepreneurs in their own fields. And they were the guys that they were, not knowing where they stepped into, but had to make plans and stuff. And myself also, I grew up on a farming community. So I think my dad always told us, like, we're not supposed to be only workers, but we should be entrepreneurs. And I think that has cultivated like a lot of my skill set in the future. I mean, I was born thinking, okay, how am I going to make this work? So
Boer maak 'n plan.
boer maak 'n plan.
There we go. There we go. Right. So, guys, tell me about the coffee industry. I know there's been this massive growth in coffee over the last couple of years, and I think COVID drove a lot of that energy, especially with the outside stands, the little shops next to the road. Tell me about the industry at the moment. I know there's fierce competition out there. So, how do you guys manage a competitive advantage in a market like this?
Yeah. You want to go?
You can go.
Kevin, I think, as I said a little bit earlier, like our main focus is relationships,
Okay.
and that is what we do.
Okay.
Coffee for us is the tool. So both of us, we are believers, and we feel like we were created in excellence, and for that reason, we need to be excellent. So
Right.
everything that we do, we want to do it like in excellence, and we want to be the best that we can be. So we are never comparing ourselves to other coffee shops. We are looking at what other people are doing, and if there's industry leaders, we dissect what they are doing and see, okay, is that something that we should also do? So we focus heavily on training and empowering our baristas and the people that work for us to put them in the best possible situation to do their work.
Yes.
But for coffee as a whole, we don't see anyone in the industry as competitors. We see them as people that's just in the same market as us, and all of us have a big part to play. If we can get people to drink better coffee, everyone wins.
Yes.
So
Love that.
Yeah, our motivation.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's good.
So tell me, when you guys started, when did the business actually start? Just give me the year. How many years has it been?
2015.
Yeah.
2015.
We're now 7 years.
Yes. It's our seventh
Amazing.
year.
All right. Well done. You made the first 5 years. Great.
Yes.
All right. So,
What happened?
right, exactly. In the last quarter of the last 5 years. All right. So tell me about your journey of starting the business and getting it going specifically around how you guys funded the idea. Because as I said earlier on, ideas are cheap, and that's the easy part and the nice part and the fluffy part. But then when you get up on a Monday morning and you physically have to open those doors, how did all of that happen?
Yeah.
I can see all the emotion around those years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say it. You're the accountant.
Well, I think that was like a journey that we had to go on. I mean, I had to basically quit my job, and I was full-time employed by Toro, not receiving a salary, which was really scary. As like being an accountant, you want to kind of like, you want to focus on the future and have everything worked out. I mean, when your holidays are, when you can take a break. For us, that first year was really hard and tough. We had to put all our energy in this. And I think the biggest thing for us was not receiving a salary was scary. But as we prayed about it, we felt like, well, it's not going to become easier. If we work ourselves up to a place where we receive an enormous salary, to give that up is even scarier than giving up nothing. So from the get-go, we were very fortunate that both of us drove vehicles that was paid off, so we didn't have any vehicles that we needed to make repayments on.
Yeah.
We stayed in a flat that was owned by family, so we didn't have to pay rent. And that was like the perfect opportunity for us to take this leap of faith.
Yes.
And getting finance was really tough. We couldn't get any because we didn't have a big track record. We didn't receive big salaries before we started this, so no one wanted to lend us any money. So that is testimony upon testimony about how the Lord actually provided for us in terms of how we got this started. And we even still 7 years in, we're not feeling like we've made it. We are so dependent on him on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And he's our provider, and he's the one that authored this dream in our hearts. So we look up to him for
Solutions. Yes. And if I can just
Absolutely.
add, our motivation starting the business was never really to become rich through it. It was
Right.
when we spoke about starting this thing, it was mainly when he would have become an accountant, make a lot of money for us, and then when we're old and grey, we will have this almost hobby. That's how we
Right.
viewed it. So when we get into it, we were satisfied to see it succeed rather than to make a lot of money. The motivation as entrepreneurs was we really want to make this thing work. Like that's the inner goal. And then as time goes, luckily it could provide for us in a sense that we can buy food and etc. after a year. And we and then the energy just flows. And I think you get smarter. And as you build a track record, a record over the years, it does become easier. But as a new engineer, if you don't have a little bit of family backing or just at least family helping you out at first, it's really hard.
Yeah, I think for us, we've probably renovated our store or the first store about 5 times already. And the reason for that is just because we had this vision of what we wanted it to become. But from the get-go, we didn't have the funding to make that happen.
Yes.
So we were the ones that every evening after work, we came here and we had to build like the shelves. We had to, we had to do all the things, paint the walls, and so many things we had to do ourselves to
actually make it work.
To make it work. But we had the dream, and we knew, okay, this is not where it's going to end. This is only the activation. And through that, even now, we don't feel like we've made it. We feel like, okay, we're on this journey, and we feel, the biggest part of the dream still needs to happen. But we are so fortunate to be in this dream and doing something that we have a passion for.
Amazing. Yeah, and I can just see the passion from the photographs. I mean, this is some of the stuff we look at when we look at design. We want to see that there's heart and soul involved. That's when we know there's a connection to those people. There's an emotional connection to their business, and you can clearly see that in on your website and on some of the photographs. And I can see the community. I can see a lot of the whole idea around relationship and community is very evident from the photographs. So well done with that. Ettiene, so tell me in terms of the family. So I think you guys have a young family as well. You got one child, or there's one on its way, or how's it going with building the family?
Yes. So our first daughter, Sayla, was born on the day of lockdown, national lockdown.
Wow. Okay, lockdown, baby.
What a time,
Right.
with all this uncertainty, starting a family. Was scary, and we have another baby on the way, which she's due in
January,
second week in Jan. So it's having your family being part of this dream is amazing. We bring Sayla with us in the mornings to the coffee shop, and she goes to everyone, and she wants to walk with them around, and she tries to speak to them, and she's already like part of the business. And it's amazing to have our whole family part of this business. I know a lot of times people say, well, it's difficult for husbands and wives to work together, or for family to be in the same business. But for us, we feel very fortunate that we can do this together.
Right.
And for us, it's like cultivating that same spirit that our parents taught us in them. Is from a small age you have to work hard. You have to do stuff in excellence. Everything revolves around people and relationships and trust.
Yeah.
So it's great to have her in this and growing up in this.
Love that. So tell me about the schedule. I'm always interested in who wakes up early, who takes care of the children in the morning. How do we run the business with kids involved and school and all of this?
So we do have a au pair that helps us. I have to be completely honest. Sayla also has special needs, so just to throw another spanner in the wheels, it's not the average situation.
Right.
So Sayla was born with a chromosome defect, so she is absolute miracle child. So Ettiene quickly realized with the schedule, running the business, getting us through COVID, actually maintaining our household, we needed help. Both our parents live far away, so we knew that I can't just get my mom over here quick, help me. So we actually had a au pair that lives with us. She helps a lot. But Stella will be going to school next year, which is also a testimony by itself, the fact that she's able to. So by next year, the schedule will change completely again. So it's hard to say this is the perfect thing, because it isn't. By next year, we'll figure it out again. Yeah. I think the main thing for us is Ettiene and I, we are fully dependent on each other as co-parents. We both parent like full on. It's not a mom thing, a dad thing. We help wherever we can because we're in business together. We're in the same household and we co-parent a special needs child right now. I think our team is, if he's missing, it's wonky. If I'm missing, it's wonky. So we both have to be very involved. Ettiene goes to bed very late at night. And I think with Sailor, just a little bit vulnerability. But the last 2 years, we haven't slept at all. Like she stopped breathing multiple times, and it was just hectic. And syndrome is she doesn't sleep well. So both of us.
Yeah, so she wakes up first in the morning.
Yes, absolutely.
She's the alarm clock. All right.
Yes. So for the two of us, we are very vulnerable with one another and honest where we're at, and we give one another breaks whenever we need, and whatever a break might look like. Yeah. So for Ettiene, maybe a break is to play golf once a year, or maybe twice in holiday. 12 times. But for me,
it's an absolute lie that entrepreneurs play golf every Wednesday afternoon. It's a dream that never comes true.
That's a dream.
Yeah, and for me, sometimes it's taking a break and going to the family beach house with my parents, whatever, with the kids.
All right, great. Yeah. So just on that point, I'm glad you brought that up, Marlouise. Au pairs, it's an interesting concept. You know, it's something that I also did early on in my business career when I got married. And, you know, it's kind of frowned upon by a lot of mothers because they think, you know, I have to do this on my own. You know, why do you have someone in the house helping you? But, you know, what I like about what you guys are saying, and this is what Take a Seat TV is about, is once I know what my purpose in life is, I have to put resources in place around me to enable me and my wife to get to our purpose. I mean, the one thing I remember from my parents, watching my parents build businesses, was that they were in their purpose. They loved what they did, and they were passionate about what they did. And I don't miss anything. There's nothing that I went short of, even though they weren't always next to the rugby field or next to the sports field. I didn't miss any of that because I saw two people passionately working towards, you know, what they were called to do. And I just love the fact that you guys have figured that out, and you don't feel bad about it. You can speak openly and honestly about it because that's really what it's about. It's purpose first. You know, what am I doing here on earth? What am I supposed to do? And then collecting all the resources you need to get to the goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So well done. Right.
Yeah, and just to add to that, you know, it's not an easy decision because obviously people speak to you about these things, and you have to have it figured out. You need to know, okay, why am I doing this before you actually do it? So for us, you know, when people talk to us about that, we have an answer. It's not something that it's a good idea and we did it. Yeah. It's like it's a well thought through concept, and we knew, okay, this is something that we need to put in place. So I think that is the one thing about entrepreneurship as well. You know, you're managing your life as well, but there needs to be a reason why you make certain decisions. It's not anything or everything, you know, around chance.
Yeah, all right, makes sense. Yeah, and it's all these building blocks of putting everything together, as you say, to balance your entire life. It's not only about the business, but also keeping the family going. And you see often a lot of entrepreneurs, worldly entrepreneurs, would build fantastic businesses but lose their families in the process, and that, you know, I think you guys agree is not the, you know, what we see as success. So it's a great work with what you guys have done with the resources. And the interesting thing about the resources as well, if you work hard at your purpose, you'll have the resources, you'll have the money to pay for the resources. And if you always try and be both, try and be a great father, great mother at home, and build a business, and you don't want any help from outside, it's going to be difficult to find the resources to build your life. So it's just a great way of approaching entrepreneurship. Right. So tell me quickly. I think you guys alluded to some of this. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What is the motivation between about getting out of bed and going to your place of work? What motivates you?
I would say calling. For us, we know what we were designed to be, and we know our place to play in the community. So for us, if we stay in bed, we miss out on that calling, and it's scary. So
Right.
we don't want to one day say, "Well, we missed that."
Right. Yeah. You want to be told, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
Yes.
Right. Got
Yeah.
it. All right. Tell me about. And I'm not sure if this is relevant to you guys, but I see there's more than one shop. Am I right?
Yes.
Or is there another shop coming?
That as well.
That's true. Yeah.
That as well. Okay. All right. So what are the plans? What are the future plans for Toro? Where's this going?
I think back again, from the get-go, we had this word about, Toru going into the nations and reaching communities and being a means for people to actually get a sustainable income. So for us, the big dream is seeing Toru in the nations, impacting communities, and in the mission field. For us, it's figuring that out, like how to do that with business. So we are not full-time missionaries, but we are called for the business sector, and we know that is our part to play in the body. So for us, it's putting all the things in place to get that going. So we're opening up another store. Hopefully it will open before the end of the year. We're taking occupation in December, and then we have to renovate it. But that's going to be closer to you. So hopefully you will be able to drink coffee there one day.
So there's a move down to the Cape somehow.
Yes.
There is. But yeah, I would say the ultimate goal would be to see how this vehicle can go into the nations and
internationally
as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. Love that.
I think just filling in a little bit of the blank, our main goal is to be a company that can actually also go back to the coffee farms and to be a company that is big enough that can actually buy in big numbers from coffee farms to see how transformation can happen on these farms as well. So we're all about from the farm to the consumer. And even within coffee, that's one of our greatest desires to see is like African and South American coffee farms being totally transformed into sustainable businesses as well. And not only just like farming to get by, but actually transform communities within Africa and South America. South America looks a little bit different already, but especially Africa. Yeah. So with that in mind, we do have to multiply. Like we do have to come up with multiple stores to have buying power. There's some business behind it as well, within the fact of going back to what I said, I want to see people live their best lives possible by teaching them how to get a sustainable income over time. So yeah, that's truly part of what we believe. So we are going for multiple stores, but we also believe, like Ettiene said, we're 7 years old now. We also believe in slow is fast. We just don't want to multiply. We do have like a concern of multiplying too quickly, losing the quality and the specialty. So for us, it's the balance between multiplication, but also keeping the identity of the brand and what we really stand for, which is quality and excellence.
Nothing to add to Marlouise. She's talking about the end dream. What we want to be able to do. But for us, where we're at the moment is we know that we have a part to play where we're at the moment as well. So we are partnering with people that are actually doing those stuff as well and scaling that side.
Right.
For instance, buying coffee from people that do these things already and partnering with them. So we feel like what we are doing, we don't want to see it only as a Tory thing. We want to see our part in the body functioning. And whether it's now buying 1 bag a month or 5 bags a month to one day maybe 100 bags a month, we don't know. But we are still, I think, we try and be faithful at where we're at the moment with a little.
Got it. Guys, so it's very clear that you guys early on realized that there's a greater call on your life and that you have talents and abilities that you have to use in the market. What I would like to do now, we're halfway through the interview. I'd like to just quickly run to an ad quickly, and this ad's about our Life Accelerator course. And really, what this is the start for anyone who wants to be successful in life. So let's just run through that, and I'm going to come back to you guys about the coffee supply.
Yes.
Want to accelerate your life? Start by finding your purpose. Purpose has become somewhat of a cliche, but in recent years, research has shown that purpose is a tool that can be used to enjoy the abundant life. Yes, you too can become wealthy and live a meaningful life. We have developed an action-packed 6 weeks online course that takes you through 6 critical steps to start taking massive action towards your abundant life. Go to www.takeaseat.tv and click on Academy. Get ready to accelerate. Right, tell me about those suppliers, because I heard someone told me that it's quite a monopoly around supply. Like there's companies out there that are buying up all the supply and they want to control the supply of coffee. Is that the truth or not?
Yes,
I'm not so sure. I think maybe it is for some people. I think we are very fortunate that we have relationships with people in the industry that have relationships with farmers. And that is only something that happens through trust over years. So we are very fortunate that we have suppliers that they might only get like maybe, let's say, 10 bags of a coffee. And they would ask us, are we interested in 1 bag? And, so it's not that we can take everything, but they are letting us into their journey as well. So people are living like this. And for that reason, we don't want to live like this. We also want to live like that. And we see like the fruit of that is people working together towards the same goal. So I think like there is the stigma about, coffee. There's a lot of companies that buys everything and they don't pay the farmers, and that is true. But there is so many people in the industry that's cultural around that, and that's actually like, living transparent and paying the farmers what they need to be paid, even if it means like the business is paying more than it should have been paying or could have been paying.
Right.
And we decided early on we want to partner with those people.
Right. Makes sense. So there's always another way. So I'm interested. You guys look like the perfect couple. You look happy. You look stressless. You look successful. But I know, in the background, there's a war going on. So I want to talk to you about frustration and stress. And I know this from my own life. All entrepreneurs find shortcuts to successfully handle stress and frustration. So as a couple, what do you think have you developed around handling stress and going home with stress, business stress, and dealing with each other while all of that's happening in your business?
Kevin, it's a really difficult question because everyone handles that differently. For us, it's accountability. So we are accountable against each other, but also we've also decided to be, based in a community that keeps us accountable. So we have amazing friends that would ask us the difficult questions because we decided we live in a coffee shop where people see you every day, so they can see when you have an off day. If you didn't sleep, they notice that immediately. And you can't talk around that. And we decided very early on we're going to be honest about that. We've for the last 3 years been doing community living where we have people living with us in our home, and we have family nights. We discuss things that happen throughout the week. We pray for things to come in the next week. So we've put measures in place to keep us accountable and to make sure that we don't, run off in this deep black hole and almost get to a place where there's hopelessness.
Right.
So
Love that.
we know also that even if we have a good day today, there might still be things happening tomorrow that would change how we think and feel about things. And for that reason, we're not above that. So we decided to put things in place to keep us accountable.
Yes.
That's
If
amazing.
if I can quickly add to it, I think the main thing we realize is because we're married and in business, our marriage is still first. Like if we're not connected in marriage, everything else is gonna fall by it. Like everything is gonna fall apart eventually.
Yeah.
So the strength of us being in business together is also the strength of being connected in marriage. So we live, like Ettiene said, a very open, vulnerable life to many. But also we, from early on, decided who's the people around us that we can really trust. So you need people in your life that can speak into your life and give you critical feedback, but make sure those are the ones you can really trust. And
Yes.
I must say, with Sayla and everything that came through Sayla, with her special needs, we could quickly tell who was the people closest to us that really cared
Wow.
and that
Wow.
really took care of us. And
Yes.
to be, I think as a South African, we are sometimes very prideful. That's right, word,
Yeah.
yes, prideful of saying we need help. So,
Yes.
for example, Ettiene will be my first level of accountability, but then we also have very close friends that will be our second level. And I went through a stage of really burnout and stress with this next pregnancy. And I have a special needs child. Obviously, there's 1,010 things running through your mind, and they all encourage me to get external help. So we are all for getting people in that's professionals and that can actually help and assist us to become the best version of ourselves. So for us, I think the main ingredient to be stress-free is to be vulnerable and to get people around us that we can trust and that we are truthful to ourselves. Yeah,
Right.
I'm a very emotional person, so I wear everything on my sleeve. So there were times before Ettiene told me, "Love, you need to get out of the coffee shop for a little while because I can tell you're stressed." And
Right.
then I was mad for 2 minutes, and then I felt better.
Good.
Yeah.
So accountability is such a difficult concept for most entrepreneurs. I work in the family business environment as a specialist family advisor, and one of the things I tell families is, one of the biggest success factors is having accountability, because entrepreneurs can basically do whatever they like. There's no one that can tell them what to do. So you can spend your money the way you like. You can manage your family, your business the way you like. You can manage employees the way you like. You can hire and fire the way you like. So there's really no one that can tell them what to do. And it's so refreshing to see that you guys are humble enough to allow people from the outside to speak into your life, because that's really what it is. It's humility. It's being able to put your life down and say, listen, I don't know anything. I'm still learning. I'm prepared to learn from other people. So well done with that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So tell me, in terms of books that have inspired you guys, in terms of stuff you've read before and now during your journey, what would be a standout book that you've read about business?
Business. I will say mainly the Bible.
Right, the best-selling book. The best-selling book.
Selling book for us.
Right.
And nowadays, I must say, with podcasts and audiobooks, it's really easy to get a lot of information in within a short time. I'm not a fast reader, so I really struggle. Ettiene is, I always say, he's like an elephant. He accumulates information and he remembers it for the rest of his life. It's incredible to see his capacity. I'm not the same. So for me, I always looked, and being a mother as well, I always look to the easiest way to get the information in. So we do read a lot of things that's coffee related. Ettiene can elaborate on that one. There's a lot of things that from the green bean up until the perfect cup, there is a whole process, and there's a lot of information available online and in books. And with us and technology, we can learn from the best in Australia, we can learn from the best in Europe, we can learn from the best in the States. So it's not only South African based, which is great. I think both of us started, and I don't know even if we finished the 7 habits of becoming. So maybe you actually have more of business things you've studied and read.
I'm very fortunate to be plugged into also, a business community of a lot of different entrepreneurs and people running a lot of different businesses. And I think there's meetings where you can actually participate in those things and discuss things like load shedding. I mean, how is load shedding impacting your business? What countermeasures can you put into place, to counter that? And I use that as an example because it actually affects everyone. But there's other stuff that's very specific, to Potchefstroom, for instance, or to specific regions that won't necessarily be something that would impact you. And I think for that reason, it's also important to have people in your community, even if it's not people doing the same business as you. It might be the same business, but to have those people around you to also discuss, okay, how are we together going to impact our community and make this a better place? Because we can so easily go and say, hey, listen, there's people that's put in place that's not doing their jobs. Things are falling apart, but that's making excuses. We are responsibility takers and we are powerful people. So what is there that we can do to actually bring forth change? And we feel like we want to participate in those kinds of things. So books, there's a lot of books that I've read and started reading, not finished. Mainly for me, it's like things that's, specific to our industry. We're always open to learning. We feel like we're never in a place where we can't, learn anymore. And I think for me, that thing happened when I was like in primary school, and my granddad, he was in the hospital. Doctors said we should come and greet him. And there was a moment where he asked me to read the newspaper to him. And I read the newspaper, and he started asking me questions, about what does that word mean? What does that word mean? And being in primary school, it's words that I've never learned before. But he actually told me, listen, this is what it means. And he told me that, something about education, the importance of that is that no one can take that away from you. So you might lose your house, you might lose your job, but if you have an education, you have something that people can't take away from you. And that's why we are always open to learning. And we're never in a place where we feel we can only teach.
Got it. All right. So now, with all that newfound knowledge and everything you've been through over the last couple of years, what would you guys say now at this point would be a winning formula to be an entrepreneur? What do I need to be an entrepreneur?
Pray first.
Right. I love that. Before you even start.
Before you start. We've had amazing, being entrepreneurs, there's so many things that we also still want to do. We've prayed about it and we felt like it's not the right time. So it's on hold. For us, everything that we saw happening through our business happened through prayer. And I think for us, it's consulting the Creator first before we actually make our own plans. For us, it's partnering with Him in what He's already busy with. So.
Yeah, and just on a practical level, I think for me as someone that did multiple things from the age of 4, I tried some things that worked and I tried some things that didn't work. I even had a nonprofit company at one stage. So I really did a lot of things because I just like entrepreneurship. So I think for me, the main lesson before you even start with something is be okay if it doesn't work out well right away. Like, it's very hard work to get to the point of a successful model. And I think as entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs will tell you there's 10 failing stories before there was really a successful one. And to be okay with the fact that I will risk everything to see if it might work. But work as hard as if you want to see it succeed. Like never go in with the low blow and say, oh, I'm just going to start something to quit again. No, you go in with everything, but being humble enough knowing that it might not work.
Yeah, and also be okay with it to start small.
Yes.
I think many times you forget like where it all started. There was an activation where you actually had to make a decision to start.
Yes.
And at that time, obviously, you didn't start with the end dream in place. We have many people, coming. We are in a university town, so there's a lot of students. They come here, they see, coffee is booming. I want to have my own coffee shop. And then you let them work behind the counter for a day, and they're like, "Wow, this is actually tough work. It's not only drinking coffee and making conversation; it's actually work." I think learn as much as you can about where you're heading towards before like making decisions. But be okay to start small and be okay to learn from people.
Yes.
Right. So you guys keep mentioning topics of success that are far removed from finances, and we all know finances is important. But I'd like to know just on that, because you guys measure it differently, what would you guys measure your success with currently? What are the metrics you're watching at the moment?
Other than finances.
Yes.
Other than finances, yes.
Yeah, we will always say it's good to have a goal for your business because then it's measurable. So just as in marriage as well, there's a goal for our marriage, and if there's not a goal, it's hard to measure where we're at. So if finances or a positive bank balance with billions is your goal, and that will also be the measuring stick if we're successful or not. So for us, our main goal in our business is to serve people. So people and relationships is our main goal. And it's hard because people come and go, especially in the university town. We've got millions of people walking through the store. Okay, thousands. Millions is a little bit exaggerated.
We're hoping for millions.
Yes, someday. No, thousands of people coming through the last 7 years. But people come and go. And I think the quality of relationships we've built over the years is actually our measuring stick of how successful this business really is. Are we succeeding the goal that we set by reaching people? And it's not really just keeping clients happy. That's one part of it. No, it's really like we have stories, people coming back to us saying, I found family, or I found a house outside my home, or I found a home outside my house, or I found my group of people. Like people use language like that, and then we know, okay, Tora is really successful in hosting people. Our whole thing is hospitality. How can we be a house where people feel comfortable from every group, every nationality group, language group? We've got tons of internationals in Potchefstroom. People don't know this, but we do have a lot of internationals. And just like being that safe space for people where they can come sit and have a cup of coffee. Maybe they only buy one, but they sit here for a couple of hours having amazing conversations and feel connected. So that's our main goal. And I think that's also how we measure if we are successful or not.
So it's almost a case of finances is the reward for what you guys do.
Yes.
Right. Love that. All right. So tell me, in terms of the employees, you guys obviously couldn't do this on your own. And I saw you raising your eyebrows early on, Marlouise, when I spoke about employees and the importance of motivating employees. Tell me, how did you build a team, and how did you get to a relationship where they are motivated to help you build this business?
Do you want to go?
Yeah, I think, that is a really, really good question, because a lot of times when you have a business, you see you have a need for a specific person to fill that need. But you might find a person with the right skill set, but it might not be the right person. And that is something that we realized really early on, is that some people will be people that's actually only doing certain jobs in the business. But then there are people that's invested, people that see the vision, that want to, be a part of that. And we've seen that through the years, where some people, they were supposed to do this as like a hobby or, in their free time, but they actually stayed. Um, we have, for instance, a guy that he's done his master's in urban and regional planning, and he's working for us, and he sees himself like working here for a long time.
Yes.
And myself, being accountant, Marlouise did her own thing. Johannes, that's part of the business. He was a graphic designer previously. So we find all these people with different skill sets. Everyone thought, okay, I'm going to study this, I'm going to do this. But then they partnered with what Toru is busy with, and they see what the big picture is. So some people will only be employees, and some people will be invested long term. And those are the people that we try and invest in terms of even time, personal time together, training. So as we said earlier as well, training is very important for us. So everyone that wants to work at Toru need to do a basic but very specific barista course. And we encourage people after they've done that and started working here to actually still go on that journey. In South Africa, it's not a big thing yet, but we have some of the best trainers and coffee people in South Africa, and those people are open to learn from if you are willing. So we get those people to Poch. We open our coffee shop to everyone out there, even if it's the guy across the street or around the corner doing the same thing. We want them to get trained as well, because we level up the industry. So it starts with our own employees, and for some people, finances are a motivation, but that is not necessarily our motivation. So it's a very balancing act. Trying to figure out what motivates people, and handling them like that.
I think if I can just add, he mentioned vision, and I think it's important, this little piece for us is, without vision, people do not know how to follow. So we always say vision gives pain purpose. So those long hours and things that's really hard to do, if they understand the vision of the business, the clear vision where we're heading towards, it's easy for them to come alongside us and actually to strengthen us as the leaders as well. Like, we walk alongside the people, but we know we can't do it alone. So we need to really vision cast hard. Like, each and every meeting we do, we invite them into the story, and we make, and it's not like just an emotional thing, but we actually give them opportunity to become part of the story. Like, there's long-term investment into these group of employees. And we do know we live in a university town, so some of our employees is only temporarily because they are busy studying. They have to make a little bit of extra money, and they will be leaving us in 2 or 3 years. But those who are part of the business for long term, the level of commitment from our side also looks different. And I think that's very important as business owners, is to know the value of your employees. Like, we cannot do it without them, and they cannot do it without us. So clear boundaries, clear communication, very clear vision casting, and keep them motivated. They need to know where we're heading towards.
Okay. So tell me, in dealing with people and being entrepreneurs, what would you guys individually say? How has it changed your life in terms of how have you become a better person because of running a business?
Sure. You can go first.
Has anything changed in how you view the world and people over the last couple of years?
Sure. I mean, I don't know the correct English word for that, but before we started like Toru, I was very I had my own say in stuff. If I would buy a meal from a restaurant, I thought, well, because I'm paying for this, I expect the best. If there's anything wrong with that, then there's no excuse.
I'm sending it back.
I'm sending it back.
Right.
And through this, I learned, like, through my own life, like, how entitled I was in a lot of things. And I've seen that, like, in a lot of other areas as well. It got exposed through actually serving people and people coming back, for the most ridiculous stuff. But in that, you learn how to humble yourself and actually, like, listen to what the client is actually dealing with.
Saying. Right.
We've seen so many people that come here, and from the get-go, you feel there's something off. But then you realize, listen, there's something happening at home that this guy is busy dealing with.
Yes.
And we try and meet them there. We try and figure out how to make their day better. So there's a lot of entitlement that has gone through the door. And we want to make people's days better.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that. Ettiene, thanks for sharing that.
And it's like Marlouise said earlier as well, it's by leading with vulnerability. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think for myself, one thing I've learned about myself, and I've definitely changed a lot in it, is knowing that I do not have all the answers.
Okay.
Like, even my business doesn't have all the solutions this world needs. We need a collective. We need more people. We are not created in isolation, so we need to pull on others and their strengths. So I think it's just a humbling experience standing on the other side of a counter, serving people your utter best, and sometimes they're not happy, and knowing, but that was my best, and be satisfied with it. And it's like that in life for many things. Like, I think the one main thing that was uprooted in my heart is a spirit of comparison, and that I realize it's deadly. There's no way that I can live by a spirit of comparison, because I will never be fully myself. And I think Torah literally gave us permission as two individuals, but also as a married couple, to be fully ourselves and serve who we are and be happy and satisfied with it. And that's the same way if you go to the gym, if you go anywhere, the way we parent, whatever, is to be fully ourselves and to live by that alone and not by comparison. I think the other thing for us is to know that there's disappointment and how to handle disappointment. I think disappointment is one of those main things. We do not like handling conflict. I think Ettiene grew in that area a lot. I'm very confronting. He's not. And just a little testimony of Ettiene.
Have you basically taught him that, Marlouise, how to handle conflict?
I'm the one tapping his back saying, now you have to say something. You have to say something.
Now's the cue. Go.
It is now, yeah. I think just a little testimony of what I've just said, of becoming fully ourselves. Ettiene grew up. He's one of twins. He's got an amazing twin brother and a younger brother as well.
They're identical.
No, not at all. So we do have amazing family, but as growing up as a twin, his brother is 2 meters tall and blonde and bubbly and very, very much not like him. And Ettiene was always more quiet. And as an accountant, he sat behind a desk with papers and a laptop and worked ridiculous hours and never really knew how to interact on a personal level with clients all the time.
Right.
And then within Toro, the first year, I was still doing something else. Ettiene was by himself in Toro, and that forces him to actually become fully himself, speaking to people. Wow. And now I can't even send him to Woolies to buy his yogurt because it takes him forever. Like, he's speaking to everyone. Yes.
Yeah, I'm catching up.
Years of not talking is coming out now.
So just in an individual capacity, we've definitely become more ourselves and more confident in who we are created and designed to be. So,
amazing. Yeah. Well done. Right. So here's my last question. We have to end. It's been an hour. Can you believe it? But here's my last question. I think you guys would make the perfect president couple for the country. So I'm going to ask you, if you had a magic wand, if we make you president and first lady next week, if you had a magic wand, what are the 3 things you will change right now in South Africa?
Only 3.
Yeah, only 3. You get only 3 choices. I
I
hope
would say-
Eskom is in there somewhere.
I would say give power to the people in the form of
Right.
electricity would be like
Power to the people.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so
would be like-
our governing party had it all wrong. The power to the people was not a voice; it was actual power.
It's like
I like that.
would be a thing. I would actually like to say, and I think this is very cliche, but stop like pointing fingers to people and actually like manning up. You know,
start taking responsibility.
it's something that we need to start taking responsibility for our own actions and stop, saying what's wrong with the person next to me. I've seen that in a lot of areas, and I've seen it in business. But as a country, that is also like very evident that we are easy to blame people and not
Right.
easy to take responsibility. So for me, it would be taking responsibility. would be
Okay, so I've got power, responsibility. What's number 3, Marlouise?
I think I will go study what I really need as a president or a first lady and get the right counsel, get people around me who can actually execute the job. Like
Okay.
with a
Got
lot of vision, you need the people. So
Right.
I will employ
Qualified
people.
people.
Yes, I will employ qualified people that's actually suitable for the job, and then get a way to keep them accountable. I
Right.
think that's, and then have a realistic 20-year plan of turning things around.
Love
I don't
that.
think it's
Love that.
realistic to say it's within a year or two.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, great, guys. So just as a last point, you mentioned the next shop is opening in December. Am I right? That's the next shop. Right.
Yes.
So we're going to come back to you. We'd like to speak to you again in future. It was an exciting conversation. Thank you very much for your time. I know it's difficult to take an hour off in a business. Thank everyone around you. You guys are awesome, and we're going to get back to you in future if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Yes,
that would be amazing.
absolutely.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Have a
it.
great morning. All right. Keep
You
well.
too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.